Hello, good evening. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Mrs. Dale Griffiths Stamos. She's a writer, filmmaker, producer, talking to us from the United States. How are you, Mrs. Dale? Good evening. How's everything?
Everything is very good. Thank you, Sherif. How are you?
Fine, everything is fine. So far, so good.
Yes.
I'm very happy to welcome you on the channel. And as a starter, I would like to ask you about when you were a child and a young woman, what inspired you to become a writer? At what influences you were exposed to?
That's an excellent question. I can't remember a time in my life when I wasn't writing. I published poems when I was a writer. I would say that I was writing various things, poetry, songs, but I moved into my main field, which was playwriting, soon after college. I was very influenced by theater and by playwrights. I read plays in high school. Other people would read novels, I'd read plays. So I was always enamored with the theater. And then about 10 years ago, my playwriting expanded into screenwriting and into producing, writing, and directing short films. And I am, moving beyond that at this moment.
Yes, I would like you to compare the reception of short films nowadays and before. When I started to go to cinema and then grew up a little bit to go to a cultural center to see non-American production and film festivals in my country, Egypt, like Cairo and Alexandria and stuff like that, to discover short films. It was very difficult at the time to watch short films, you know
Yes. Yes.
only on special festivals of that genre, or in a certain week of certain countries. But right now there are a lot of platforms that produce and showcase short films. Tell me about that change, and is it I mean, it's a good change for the filmmakers and also for the audience as receivers.
Yeah, it is very different now. Not so much in terms of, I mean, back in really the old days, they used to sometimes have a short before a feature in a movie theater. That has gone the way of the dinosaur. But basically, short films are proliferating in film festivals. And you'd be amazed how many film festivals there are throughout the world, thousands of film festivals, and many of them welcome and showcase shorts because short films are somewhat easier to program. They program in a program of shorts, so they might have shorts that are comedic, or they might have shorts that are um, dramatic or about a particular subject. So almost all film festivals these days do have a shorts category. So for filmmakers, it's a great opportunity to work your craft. There aren't necessarily a lot of platforms such as Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, etc., that feature shorts. Some of them do, but that has not really become a thing yet, where there's a lot of shorts on the various streaming platforms. There are some, but just not a lot. But shorts are very, very popular in the festival world. It becomes for the filmmaker really a chance not only to work your craft at a smaller level, but to also get responses to your craft. So for me, I've done 70 film festivals with my 6 short films, and it's been a really worthwhile experience for me.
Yes, and I think right now the audience are more familiar with that genre because people either watch, I imagine, television series or soap operas, go to theaters. But I think right now people are familiar to see like a program of shorts for 2 hours. They can see um, a film, a group of films under a certain genre or a curatorial theme. But I want to ask you because I see you've been teaching as well, creative writing. I want to ask you about your students nowadays. How do you see the young generation?
Well, it's funny because I have taught young people, but I've also taught a lot to adults. Uh,
Yes,
I work at the Santa Barbara Writers Conference. I've worked at adult ed at our local city college. I've also done presentations for other conferences. But I have also worked with some young people at UC Santa Barbara. I live in Santa Barbara, California, and our UC, I did work with some young playwrights there. And it, well, first of all, writing is alive and well. Um, this idea that television media, etc., is stealing writers from novels and short stories and other forms of writing is not true. There is so much good writing coming out from all ages. My specialty in teaching is story structure because I discovered that there are lots of genres like novel, short story, memoir, where they don't really understand structure in the same way that dramatists do. Dramatists meaning playwrights and screenwriters. We kind of live and breathe structure. So my specialty is to teach these both young writers and older writers how to structure whatever fictional, even non-fictional piece they're working on.
yes. And I've been looking among your filmography at the Internet Movie Database and your official website. You have another website for about your book. Can you please tell me what inspired you to write this book and how the book was received and how can people can purchase it? Because I see you can purchase it from the website, but maybe there are other platforms known more for people.
Well, I assume that you're talking about the one and only foray that I took into writing a nonfiction book. Um,
Yes.
it has it has my twin brother's name on it, also Scott Griffiths, W. Scott Griffiths, because this was his idea. He had done a book about modern day Renaissance men, and he approached me and said, "Dale, you need to write this one about modern Renaissance women." So I was really privileged to get to talk to 16 extraordinary modern day Renaissance women, many of whom no one would necessarily know the names of, but when you read their stories, they're really astounding. And so I interviewed each of these women, and the book is titled Ren Women, which was my brother's great title. I thought it was a good title. I now can refer to people as a Ren woman, if you are that Renaissance style person. And keep in mind that nowadays a Renaissance style of life is almost necessary. I mean, being able to be good at more than one thing. This is not master of one trade, I mean, what is it that the expression is, a jack of all trades, master of none? No, many people now are mastering many things for a variety of reasons. So I focus on the women who have done that. Really, really extraordinary. So the book is, in fact, the easier way to get it is on Amazon. And it's gotten some very, very nice reviews. So it's called Ren Women: What Modern Renaissance Women Have to Teach Us About Living Rich, Fulfilling Lives. So that's the title of the book, and it was really quite an adventure, both both interviewing these women and then getting to write about them. It was a great pleasure.
Do you think this book can be transformed into a documentary film at some point?
Well, it's funny because one of the women in the book, the extraordinary Ava Holler, that if you don't know who she is, look her up because She's amazing. She has been sort of encouraging me to think about that idea. Yes, I think it would actually make quite an interesting documentary. There is already a documentary in the works about this particular woman, Ava, but to feature Renaissance style women in a documentary, I think would be a fabulous project.
Excellent. You know, of course, you follow the news like everybody. You know, especially you are a writer, being in contact with what's happening around you inside the United States and around the world. Do you think right now of what you've been reading and hearing and seeing on different media, can inspire you about some future projects you dream of realizing?
Well, to some extent, that actually applies to the feature film that I have just embarked on, and that film is called Imbalance. And the reason it responds to the question you just asked me is it deals a lot with the Me Too movement, which is, of course, such a big movement here in the United States. And I don't think just here, I think internationally. And I had written something previously, but I brought it up to date into 2022 at the time that I started rewriting it, um, with factoring in the Me Too movement, because it's about a relationship between a professor and her teaching assistant. And nowadays, the rules, there were always rules against these kinds of even when consensual relationships, but with Me Too and something called Title IX at the universities, the rules have become that much tighter and stricter, and the repercussions that much more intense. And so to me, this was a really interesting story to tell, given the times we live in, and given the fact that so many movements that are happening both in the United States and across the world are seen in very black and white ways, when in fact there are often gray areas that are less explored. And I really wanted to look at the gray areas of this question. When is this a good thing? I mean, I am absolutely an advocate of Me Too, but are there moments where it impinges in negative ways on an institution, for example? So that's definitely something. And yes, I am intrigued by the very strange times we're living in general. How one of my films was about a biracial relationship. I'm very interested in racial relationships. I'm very interested in women's rights. These are all things that are almost coming to the fore, in at least in the U.S. and again, as I see in the news, very much worldwide. So those are things that really do intrigue me.
Yes. You've been telling me that while you were studying, growing up, your focus in reading turned into reading theater, contemporary, of course, and classic.
Hmm.
Uh, what will be your advice for young people right now to polish the writing, I mean, culture generally? Because, right now, all the media around us give us very, very fast, it's like fast food, and not
Yeah,
very deep knowledge of things,
yeah,
because when we were young, I imagine many of our generations used to go with their parents to buy a book, buy a magazine, and this habit grew up with us,
yeah.
to research in books. But tell me, what advice for people who would like to turn into creative writer, and they don't know where to start?
Well, what, it's very interesting what you said, because everything now seems to be moving at the speed of light. And
Mhm.
certainly in terms of the internet. But one thing I will say, and this is something that I told the mother of a young woman graduate student, who asked me what advice I would give her. Now, this was via a Ren Women uh, event, but I would give the same advice. And that is that in a way, you really can use the massive power of the internet to grow and evolve creatively. I certainly use it for all my research because I do extensive research. And having all of that at your fingertip is actually an amazingly useful thing. And the other thing is that you can learn anything now on the internet. I am an avid learner. I'm hungry to learn. And I'm a bit of a Ren woman myself because I probably do about 5 or 6 different things. I speak multiple languages. I play a couple of instruments. So I do multiple things. And when I became a producer, I had to learn about producing. When I do all my own graphics, my argument to this mother of a young girl was that young people do not yet know how capable they are. They don't yet know that within them are a multitude of skills, and that what they need to do is reach out into experience, try things out that they're longing to do, and find out, discover, all these things that in fact, once they begin, they realize, oh my, I actually can do this. So in a way, it's an exciting time. As far as writers, it's not dissimilar because there are so many incredible online resources for writers nowadays. If you're exploring writing a novel, tons of resources. If you there's of course these conferences everywhere. We have young people who come to the Santa Barbara Writers Conference all the time. So one could get discouraged about what small bites of information seem to be pouring out of everywhere. But if you channel those bites appropriately, you can actually go deep. You can find a site and then keep going deeper and deeper. So it isn't necessarily a bad thing if you know how to use it.
Of course, you are true because myself, I learned a lot online, only reading and watching tutorial on YouTube, website design, YouTube right now, interviews, because my background was technical a little bit in sound system and multiplexes, but I ventured into other stuff, and everything I think you learn, like you said yourself, your music influences, the language you speak will open also many gateways for you that will also be a hub for you to enlarge your creativity, as a writer and also as a professor.
Right.
Dale, I want to thank you very much for this lovely and great interview, especially it is during the weekend. Thank you very much for that. I'm very happy to discover your book and your writing. I look forward to attend some days the premiere of a new theatrical presentation or a short film of your writing soon. So
hopefully the next one will be Imbalance the Feature. And also, if anyone's interested about that, they can go to imbalancethefilm.com, which is the website, and they can explore what we're doing for the feature.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dale. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and I look forward to have you again on my show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.